2019, when the pandemic hit, he was the first to start organizing, the head of the committee of the Kudu U.S. Humanitarian Services. He set up a committee that today, that committee has been transformed to what is now known as the Kudu Medical Mission in Cameroon, where an extended medical outreach is currently going on now in the village of Takwe. So this is somebody who is very passionate about the common man on the ground. Even dated back to about 10 years ago, where he started advocating for the Ngundeng Azi Nchonyahan Road. That should be an alternative road on which today that road seems to be passable. And I hope that by the dry season, the health committee or the road infrastructure committee will be able to complete that road. I mean, he has a very rich background, but I will not like to talk more. Where I will bring Dr. Frefak Emon in here so that at least to ask him so that most of you can understand where he's coming from and how he's using those skills and those kind of volunteerism to help the people of Lebialem and particularly the Bang people. I know sometimes I say you are my mentor. Is of course you are welcome to Gaza Media. At least I'm happy to welcome you this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Kumba, and thank you, Gaza Media, for according me this opportunity to address our people on the ground and their exchange with those that are online today. And thank you for everything you do. And I think Gaza Media has really been an eye opener, as they say that sometimes the repression thrives when the sky is shut, so that there is no light. It thrives when there is darkness. And so what Gaza Media has done is to actually provide people that opportunity to shine some light on many of the dark areas of, some of them most morally depraved things that have been happening in Lebialem. And thank you for that. I think it's really been quite good to see.
Yes, dear viewer, with the conversation, when we get to some places, we will turn into one language to also help our parents to understand. But Dr. Emon, in your area of bioethic, can you briefly just maybe explain to us? I'm not saying that we should go so much in depth. What do you do in that area?
So, as you know, medicine is a very, very complicated field. Cancer even more complicated than that. So, and as it's a huge institution that we are at the Ohio State University, and usually will come up with very challenging situation. And the question is, what is the right thing to do? And so, the bioethics committee, which I'm a consultant, part of the consultant group, that actually when those complex situations come in, it is us that they will call us to really look at where you may want to think about things like culture or family, other things that intertwine to make systems, and how that affect a particular situation that you are actually addressing on the ground. So it's becoming such a big thing. And I think one of the other areas which I've written a lot on that I'm happy to that the organization has been co-opting me to continue to work on that is to make sure that we have cost-effective drugs to treat cancer and other medical things in Africa. So thank you for that.
Yes, and dear viewer, if you may want to know, he has been on CNN, been on different network here in the US, try to educate the general public in some of this area, like in the prostate cancer, where he has done a lot of extensive research. Dr. Emon, you also partner with some group that you have been helping a lot of our people in the area of oncology in the clinic in what I think is somewhere in Suza. We have not really had time to do a presentation, but I think the information people have benefited from that network through you. Do you want to share a little bit more on that, or maybe just take about 1 minute or to say something in regard to that?
Yeah, the program you mentioned is the institution is called Cameroon Oncology, and it's actually in Bikoko in Douala. And I know that so many of our people have actually benefited from that. And so what we do is I run that program as the lead medical oncologist from here. And So that is our own way of giving back. Because if many people know, Cameroon, it's really, really, really very, very backward when it comes to cancer care and even understanding what is cancer. And so there's just no um, equipment to meet the needs of the people in Cameroon. And so we've been partnering with, really helping out with Cameroon Oncology. So I run that through a program that we call telemedicine. And the other thing that we've done so that our people may also benefit from that is through some of the work that I've done internationally. We now partner with an Indian big healthcare chain called the Indian Institute of Medicine for Health Science, so that when we're not able to handle situations in Cameroon, I can easily get people there. And then when they get there, of course, those that have gone there can testify to you how they get treated, and they realize that they get given heavily discounted prices compared to what they would have paid just because,
Mhm.
so I mean, that's our own little way of giving back. We hope at least that there would be an enabling environment, someday, so that many of us actually out here would not only do this through telemedicine, but bring the skill set back home. And yeah, so that's the little we can do for our people. And we should come back at some point, as you say, and have a whole program, because there's a lot that we should
Yeah.
be doing, telling our people and guiding our people um, how to
Yes, I know to have access to some of these
you
services
know,
that
Cameroon
can help them.
Oncology has been partnering
Mhm.
with Lebialem, with Lebang health campaign for the last several editions. For cancer, to do cancer screening, we've even sent out a doctor and then sometimes nurses, to Fontem actually. So yeah, those are the things that they do. So, yep.
Yes, Dr. Emo, I know you have gone international. Sometimes you will flew from US to Africa, presenting talk regarding Pan-Africanism with Professor Lumumba. Those that know him should know who I'm referring to. This is somebody that he doesn't shy away when it comes to dictatorship in Africa, when it comes to good governance, doing the right thing. I will start it. This is somebody, I mean, you have been involved with him, you have been very close to him. Yes, I just wanted to like say what in that area, what do you usually do when you are in that kind of panel in discussion in that Pan African endeavor with Dr. Paulo Lumumba?
Yeah, so as you said, yeah, so I'm a patron, I'm one of the patrons of the PLO Lumumba Foundation. And what we do is we've gone to many state houses in Africa, met many presidents, met many of their cabinets. And, but, that part of the program, usually we would also lead a group that we call the Pan African Investment Group, and that bring people from across the globe to explore the opportunities to share, to help, to assist, collaborate with communities, to see how we can be able to, to bring our own little, contribution, to the development of Africa. But as we also sit there, we'll do a lot of engagement. We'll do a lot of maybe sometimes have one-on-one with people, with ministers, with leaders about the need of good governance as the predicate for everything that and then a rethinking about the kind of education, going away from this education of dependence that we inherited from the colonialists, to a dependent on education of free men, which Africa needs to grow. So yeah, so now there is a couple of Pan African institutes that have been created now. One in Kenya, and another one in Somaliland, where we just came from, and then there's another one that I'll be there in February for the one in Zambia to be launched. So yes, then there's a group. We mentor a lot of youth across Africa, especially on the area of again, good governance, because that is critical. I mean, Africa, you probably realize that we have this. It's a tragedy that we have so much resources, yet when we look back, it's almost like to use an analogy, that an African, I mean, an elephant gives birth to a mouse. Because otherwise, how do we have the many resources that we have? We can feed the entire world. We have hydroelectricity to, like, supply the entire world. We have um, the best climate and the best weather patterns in the world. We have just about everything. The youth population currently of the world, one third of the youth population is from Africa. So we really have everything that we need to be able to grow. And yet, this is a place where each time you turn around, all you see is misery, all you see is poverty. And but then the problem is, as you're looking at that, there is a class of nouveau riche, and that is affecting our own Lebialem, as we will get to as well, where these people who are supposed to be leaders, how do they see themselves? They see themselves more like the colonialists used to see Africa, which is like a farm where you go there and then extract all the extractable. And unlike the colonialists who actually felt the need to actually go and settle there, a lot of our leaders treat the place as if they have contempt for their people. And this is the sad part of it. So we that's those are that's the work that we try to do across
Yes.
Africa with the
Yeah,
foundation.
Dr. Emo, and now I'm listening this. I think I've never, I know you for a long time. I think this area that we have never really talked about it. You mentioned governance, good governance, several times when you were describing the kind of work that you do with the foundation of Professor Lumumba in the Pan African thing. Now, coming now to leadership, I mean, you have that kind of experience in terms of the skill that a leader is supposed to be around or in the community where they serve, so that they can also be able to feel the pains or also be able to identify need base from the grassroots, not something that you sit somewhere, you go there maybe 2 hours and come back. When you look at Lebialem, I will start with the parliamentarian himself, that in the terrain subdivision in Lebialem, as they call it, he doesn't have regional offices or subdivisional offices, whatever they may want to call it, say in Wabane and Law and Fontaine South Division, where these people will be able to relay to him, because somebody has made an argument that, oh, he cannot be everywhere every time. Because here in the US, you see senators, they have their regional office. I remember Cheryl Brown in Ohio has offices in Akron, Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati, in major city, and even in Dayton. So when you come to our own leader, what do you make of that?
So, Ernest, this is an extremely important question. Cast your mind to the Halcyon days, the days when the BLM actually looked like it was about to take off. The parliamentarian, when I was in secondary school, the parliamentarian, the late Honorable Fonju, was actually a resident he was my
Yes.
teacher in
Yeah.
grammar school. He was my history teacher. And when he got into parliament, he stayed there. So we would go, and then he would rally the people. We would go and fix the roads on Saturday on Saturday mornings, and everybody was happy to do it because the parliamentarian is on the road. The fun was in the palace. All right. And even when the fun is not in the palace, you know that the fun is going to come. All our chiefs were in the palaces, right? And then but which means that when Fonju would pass on the same road that the average person was passing, that everybody else was passing. So because he passed on that same road, he drank the same water. If he were sick, he used the same hospitals, and so on and so forth. So because he used this opportunity, I mean, he used these services. At the time, there was no electricity, but had there been electricity at the time, then if there was darkness, he would have suffered the same. So this is very, very critical. Like when you have current crop of leaders, the parliamentarian that you talked about, Honorable Faju has been parliamentarian for how long? Maybe 30 years, right? Ask him how many times he's visited, Fontem or Lebialem. I mean, you even talk about the idea of even having regional offices. Just the regional offices is not really, it's a symptom of a problem. It's like when somebody has a fever, the fever is actually, a manifestation of a bigger disease. The
Yeah.
disease here is the total absence of leadership,
So,
where the people who are leading have no idea. We don't even want to call them leaders. They are more rulers than leaders, because, and in the words of George Orwell in Animal Farms, where they have thought about themselves. When they come to campaign to you, they'll say, "Oh yeah, we are all equal. All animals are equal." But when they get there, the next minute is some are more equal than others. Fortune stays in their own lane. How many times was he visit Lebialem? Even before the crisis. How can you know the people's problem? Your children don't go to school in Lebialem. You don't use the underfunded, understaffed, poorly constructed hospitals in Lebialem. You don't use the death traps that are called roads in Lebialem. You don't, if the electricity is flickering back and forth, you don't use it, right? I mean, you have your AC. You have how do you even relate to the people's problem? So that at the end of the day, now we see it's the mayor is the same thing. The funds is in of Lebialem. Many of them are now they have now deserted. The palaces are empty. So when you think about a community and you think like Lebialem and you think about what leadership ought to be, what are the pillars of leadership? It ought to be that is the traditional leadership,
mhm.
incarnated by our funds, and then of course the chief becomes some stuff, and then you have to have the elites, and then of course you have the intellectual class, and then you have to have the political class and the religious class. And of all of this, who resides in Lebialem?
I
And how
think
do
only
you,
the religious, only the
right?
religious, the
It,
clergy.
yeah, and the clergy is, to the extent, is the Reverend Father, right? And there
Yeah.
is somebody else above him who is the bishop in the case of the Catholic Church, right? We understand, but at least sometimes they may do an effort. They may make an effort to come and there once in a while. So until the people of Lebialem realize and say, we're not that stupid, we're not that worthless, that somebody, we're not inferior human beings. The person who is going to lead us, maybe either a parliamentarian, the mayor. If you do not reside in Lebialem itself, you lose your legitimacy and you should not be a leader. If you think that Lebialem is so rural and so backward for you to go and live in, then don't represent them. How do you represent them? How do you only want to get the benefits of the office without the burdens of the office? You talk about Sherrod Brown here. I have lived in many places. I've lived in Massachusetts. I've lived in Vermont, and now here in Ohio. Everywhere where I have lived, and I've been, participated in community building, and I've actually had my number has actually been retained by the senator. So everyone now and then, the senators get a what we call a town hall, which is a virtual town hall, right? And
Mhm.
I participate. They will call me. I will see somebody who will just say, "Hey, your senator wants to would have a town hall with your congressional delegation," and then we would have the opportunity to ask questions. And so this is how, if you want to go back and reclaim our for the people, for the leadership to have a functional leadership, that leadership must be able to suffer the burdens of the people. We don't need people to be PhD holders or engineers or lawyers or whatever to lead the people. Leadership is not that. What we need is morals. What we need is somebody who finds themselves, who sees themselves in the people suffering. That's the only, and somebody with a vision. And sometimes we confuse all these certificates and for education, which is too far from the truth.
Yes, and Dr. Emo, and I mean, and this is the core